All right, let's hop into this week's module. We have been talking about composition and cameras for weeks, and seems like weeks and weeks now. Back when we were in the classroom, and then even last week. And here's the thing: you never go away from that. Not in this discipline. All right. Um, the shot is central to what we do, and you're just going to start seeing these things as second nature. You're going to instantly look at the framing of a shot and understand the construction of it. What kind of lenses are they using? Deep depth of field, shallow depth of field, and more importantly, why? Okay. So these things are awesome. We will never not pay attention to them. But these are for still as well as for cinematography. And what we get to add with cinematography now is movement. So let's move. To do that, I want you to think of things in I guess we all kind of learn these in a math class. You have your z-axis, your x-axis, and your y. So your x-axis is going left to right. Your y-axis is going north to south, south to north direction, not important. And then the z-axis is moving in or moving out towards us, all right? Now for us, it can be any object. It can be a car, it can be a horse, it can be a spaceship. The movement is what's important here, but it's easy to think of this, and these are the first things that we'll be able to start working with, is what are you doing with your actors? So on my x-axis, I can have my actors move left to right, right to left, left to right, right to left, and then I'm working in the x-axis, all right? I can have my actor who's seated on a couch stand up. I can have her sit down. I can have her faint and fall to the floor. And now I'm working on the y-axis. And then in the z-axis, I'm moving my actor towards the camera or away from the camera. All right? So blocking my actors is all about constructing the movement within the frame. All right? This movement is controlled and should have a purpose. It has to have a purpose for us. Why an actor will do thing and what that framing is, I set up as a director. All right. And it should, here's the tenet that we always fall back on. Why would you have them stand up and move across on the X, Y, or Z axis? It should add something to the scene that supports the narrative. Always important. Don't forget that. All right. So blocking my actors and moving, knowing that I have a three-dimensional space that I capture, is absolutely critical. There's our axes. And now, not only do I get to move the objects in the frame, I get to move the camera. And think about that, because the camera can also move on any of these three axes. All right? So I can move the camera and do a dolly on the x-axis as my actor is moving away from me on the z-axis, right? So not only is that kind of complex, if you don't control this and decide what should be moving where and what the purpose is of each, then you're not being a good director. Okay, you need to understand when to move that camera and why, and then what's happening within the frame as you move it. So one of the reasons in the first exercises that I do in a class like this is I lock down the camera. You can't pan it, you can't move it, because I want you to focus on controlling the movement of the actors or the objects within the frame. And once you get a handle for seeing that, now you can add that additional level of complexity, which is now I'm going to make my camera move with it. And this becomes, in every sense of the word, a dance. It becomes choreography. And how I move my camera, where I move my camera to juxtapose or support similar motion with my actors or my objects is all about what we do. And it's something that, if you've not been conscious of it, I know you've reacted to it before in the films that you like. All right, so let's take a look at this in action for a few minutes, if you don't mind. So we mentioned in one of the contextual videos last week, Raging Bull, and I want to go there for this clip. Let me lose that. This is how this scene starts. Tight clothes. Look at that back plane. There is the wall, and look how close he is to the camera, and watch that the distance between him and the end of the camera lens changes very little. Coming down a corridor, things are really tight. How many people in the shot? 4. And a turn, and this is being shot on a Steadicam. All right, so this guy is walking backwards and filming his objects in front of him. Now look how it starts to widen out. The camera operator moved back in that corner so that the actors can walk by him, and then he picks up this pace. Extremely complex shot, a phenomenal shot. And this is all to set up him coming back into the ring. Now, he hits here, and what happens to the camera? It's elevated. He ends up sitting on a crane, and now they take him up. No edits until right there. Incredible? I think so. So I have posted this scene for you, and I posted it with some commentary. There's it's an excellent piece of work to study in terms of cameras, positioning, and blocking. All right, so that is movement. There's our clip. What do I want you to do? I want to try and get to movement if we can in our assignment next week, but I need to make sure everybody can get that app downloaded and make sure it works in your camera and that you can export and then post a little clip for me. So we'll try that next week. For right now, I don't want movement, but I want you to do 2 separate posts. It'll be easier for people to respond and see what you're doing if you make 2 separate posts, okay? So I want you to, this time, not find an image that you like. I want you to shoot an image. You can use your phone, use existing light. It's about composition now, and it's about placement of the objects within your frame. That's most important here. All right, so I'd like one. These are the 2 kind of frames that we're working with. One of a close-up, and then one of a long shot. And technically now, I'm adding the most important element, which is what should your shot say? And what I want to do is work with what we're all faced with right now, is some level of isolation. So I want to see that from your interpretation in a close-up and an extreme long shot. All right, you should change your objects or your actors here. All right, and keep in mind that this word here is extreme. It's not just a long shot. All right, so that's what I'd like to do for this week's assignment. We're going to build on that. Again, know that a lot of people are working behind our scenes to get us some tools to make this as interesting as we can. So with that, have a good week, be safe, be healthy, and I'll see you next week.